Hello YouTubers and welcome to another Doctor Who action figure review. For today's review I shall be taking a look at the 10th Doctor in Tuxedo as seen in his adventure Voyage of the Damned. Now this is a figure which was released a couple of years ago, hence why we have the old packaging. So the packaging, it is the same packaging we've seen in the Collector's Series style branding, which sort of started off around 2015 I think. So once again we have the old Doctor Who logo, which was the Classic Series logo, still is the Classic Series logo I should say, and basically you've got all these diamonds, all these colours, all the cogs in the background from the 12th Doctor era. On the side it just tells you what it is, it says on the front as well, and it says 5.5 inch, 14 centimetre, not that you really need to know this. Gives you a bio of the 10th Doctor as well as the story which this figure is based on the back, and it gives you another image of the figure as well. So overall I did quite like this packaging, I think it was very nice. So yeah, that's the packaging. Now let's take a look at this figure outside of the box. So here is the figure outside of the box, and one thing that I've noticed upon looking at this action figure and just moving it around a little bit is that this figure doesn't use any existing parts, which is quite good. I'd say the only existing part it probably does use is the Converse trainers at the bottom. But for what it's worth, as plain as it looks, this is actually a very good action figure, and one which is very welcome to be part of this action figure line, if not about 10 years too late. So we're going to take a look at the articulation first today, as this actually has more into articulation than all of the other 10th Doctor figures. So the knees are normal, they can bend back and everything like that. There's no articulation in the trainers, so that aspect of the sculpt is probably the only thing which is the same as what we get on most of the other 10th Doctor figures. The shoulders are ball jointed, so you can have more dynamic poses with this guy as opposed to a regular 10th Doctor figure. There's articulation in the biceps and at the elbows, and there is articulation at the wrists, and the legs can move from side to side and up and down as well, and the neck can do a 360-degree turn. So this guy is very poseable. Now taking a closer look at the detail of this, the head sculpt is also a new thing. I believe that this is a brand new head sculpt. Some have said that this is very similar to the Pentalion head sculpt. I mean, it is, but I don't think it's exactly the same. The hair looks slightly different, and it's very similar to the End of Time sculpt, but again, it's not exactly the same. So I believe that this is actually a new head sculpt for this figure, which is something that Character Options didn't need to go to many lengths to do, but they did it anyway, so good on them for doing it. I think that overall the head sculpt is very nice. You've got a nice wash of brown and black in his hair as well, and you've got those nice lovely sideburns. As for the face, I think it is an excellent likeness to David Tennant. Now looking at the suit, it looks very plain, very similar to the suit what the John Sim Master wore at the end of Series 3, but it is not exactly the same, so they're not going on the cheap and reusing that sculpt, thankfully, because those two suits are totally different. So as you can see here, there's one button here, it's just been buttoned up, which is very nice, and you've got the pockets and some of the lining of the suit there, and at the back you've got all the creases. It's a very simple sculpt, yet effective, because it stands out among all of the other 10th Doctor figures on the shelf. The trousers are very plain. In fact, I'd say that the trousers, they may actually be the same trousers as the previous 10th Doctors. I'm not quite sure, but I've just thought of that in just this minute, so maybe they are, hence why we have the Converse at the bottom. The Converse are very nice as well, remind me of Converse that I used to have, that I chucked away. Very nicely detailed. Of course, you got the black at the middle there, and you've got the white laces, very, very nicely sculpted. And there you can just see the white just at the bottoms of the shoes. And interestingly, it says BBC 2004. So yeah, it's definitely a reuse of that sculpt. And finally, the shirt. It looks white on camera, but actually there are lines on this shirt. You probably can tell more in real life. I mean, I didn't really realise this until I got the figure. I mean, you can sort of tell if you put it in certain stances. The camera doesn't really do it justice, but believe me, it works very well. And of course he's wearing a bow tie, so I guess that the 10th Doctor thought that bow ties were cool before he regenerated into the 11th incarnation. Now, believe it or not, this comes with an accessory, and yes, it is off the 10th Doctor's beloved screwdriver, and it is of course a screwdriver which we're all familiar with this era, with the blue light at the end there. It's very, very nicely sculpted. This is actually a new sculpt, because all the other sculpts of this particular variation of the sonic screwdriver are of it opened, extended, but this one is just the neutral one, it's just closed. So yeah, another thing which is quite interesting about this figure is he has a different sonic screwdriver. So I'd say that this is probably the most different 10th Doctor figure that we've ever had, and it's definitely the record holder now for the most overdue release of a Doctor Who action figure that we have ever had in the history of the character options figures. It goes without saying. This is a figure that easily could have been released over 10 years ago. So I don't know why it took them so long to release it. This is only a 2-year-old figure, and it's quite baffling really. But overall, I'd say that this is a very nice figure, and one definitely worth getting. I got mine for £5 from my local Forbidden Planet. I say local, it is in Liverpool. I'm from Preston, so it is quite a distance, but it's more or less the closest one to me. So I got this for £5, so these guys are going quite cheap now, so I definitely would get my hands on them while they are going for low prices. So thank you very much for watching this Doctor Who action figure review, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care and stay tuned for more coming soon to the channel. Bye for now.